Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cryptid Cocktail Party, a show where we have a few drinks, share a few laughs, take a dive into the unknown. I'm your host Dave, and today I am joined by second best co-host, Colby Clark. How's it going, bud?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I hope that poll didn't hurt your feelings.
Hurt my feelings. It gave me a will to live for like a couple days.
It gave you something to strive for to become the number one second best co-host.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
I mean, Nick has an interest. Not that I'm not interested in your story. Sorry. Nick has a general interest in cryptids.
That's true.
Preceding being a guest. So I mean, it makes sense.
I guess, yeah. But I feel like your
Nick,
reactions,
just know I'm coming for you.
Your reactions are more genuine, I feel like, because even if he doesn't know the story, some things you can kind of expect. You have no fucking idea what is going on.
I try to know the least going into it that I possibly can.
Yeah, that's why I did not want to tell you, because this is the topic of today's episode. You have to. There's no way you don't know it. But I didn't tell you what it is, right? You're gonna go in blind with this.
You have not. I am wool over the eyes over here.
All right. Well, Colby, the other reason why I wanted to have you on, not just because you're my friend and you gotta start making a name for yourself against Nick, is that 1 year ago this week you helped me launch this show by being a guest on the first two episodes, Flatwood Monster and I believe the Dover Demon.
Oh, that's fantastic! Yeah, those were great.
I didn't want to do this series with anyone else because I feel like it's only fitting that even if you're not a guest consistently, I feel like the milestones, the major ones, you have to be here for, because if it wasn't for you, this show would not have started. Because I feel like you were the only one who had time to do it, and you did it.
Well, I'm so proud to be a part of this. This is fantastic. This is a really great thing that you did. And yeah.
We know we're 1 year in, almost 50 episodes in.
Holy smokes.
Hours of content. So I just want to say thank you, Colby, for helping me get this off the ground. And thanks to everyone listening. You guys were fucking awesome for sharing and commenting and liking and following and all that stuff. So I really appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to dive right in, Colby?
Yeah, dude. Thank you for creating this.
Oh yeah.
We just thank each other for a while.
Yeah.
Just show highlights of thank yous.
I mean, we could. Fuck it. This is just a thank you episode. It is what it is.
No. I'm ready for it. Friggin' give it to me.
All right, Colby. So, we record these on Riverside, and you can name the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of gave you a hint of the area that we're going to be talking about today. Can you tell people what I named the studio?
Doing cocaine with John Denver on a boat. Just kidding. It's Take Me Home, Country Colb.
All right. So can you guess where we're going to be talking about today?
Colorado.
Pretty much. So
Denver would be more accurate.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about Appalachia. Appalachia. It's pronounced either way. And
okay.
From top to bottom, Appalachia, however you want to pronounce it, is no stranger to the weird, the unusual, straight up fucking terrifying. The Appalachian Mountain Range is fucking 480 million years old, so it's had some time to kind of brew up a few of its own iterations on like eldritch horror. There's a lot of things going on here, and it's been dating back
on what was it?
The Appalachian Mountain Range.
No, the elderly tour. What was it?
Eldritch horror, Colby.
Eldritch. I haven't heard of that. That's why I'm asking.
You don't know? It's like think like Lovecraftian. No.
Okay.
You're not.
Yeah.
You look like you know. You're shaking your head like you know, but I feel your face is saying something different.
Lovecraft.
Love it.
the guy, the author man.
The author man, yes. Now
I got it. I'm right there.
These things have been dating back for centuries. Even the indigenous peoples of the region have had stories and folklore of things that go bump in the night in this area. Things like the Wampus cat, which the Cherokee viewed as a protective spirit, The Wendigo, which if you're listening, you probably know what his deal is, and we covered it. You were the guest on that episode. He is definitely not a protective spirit. Probably the opposite of.
Okay.
You also got the Moon-Eyed People. They were short, pale-skinned, little nocturnal guys with large, bright eyes that weren't really considered spirits or cryptids, but just like a straight-up different race of person. Kind of like you. I feel like I just described you perfectly.
Oh, big time.
And then you got my personal favorite. And I should probably do a whole episode on this. This spirit creature, whatever it's called the Spearfinger. And according to legend, the Spearfinger is a shape-shifting stone-skinned witch with totally normal hands. She definitely does not have a wildly sharp and long knife in place of one of her fingers.
Did she write this?
Yeah.
She wrote that, didn't she?
Yeah, she wrote her own biography. It's like a biography on that. It's like on the back of a book, like the jacket.
Yeah.
She's like, I totally have normal hands. Not
but just
Freddy
like
Krueger.
taped it on. She just wrote it on a regular piece of paper from the witch.
So it's said that she would take the form of an old woman and convince the children in the village that she was their grandmother. And then when the kids would fall asleep, she would straight up murder them and then steal their livers.
Oh.
So I feel like this is just another reason why I don't trust old people. They're already creepy. They're already... Are you okay?
I mean, you cross the line when you impersonate my grandparent, all right? And then, excuse me, and then to murder me.
I didn't put this in there, but it said that she would lull the children to sleep by brushing their hair. Now, I need to know, is she doing that with like the knife hands, or is this like a just, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She slips it in there. Yeah. It's like comb, knife hand, comb, knife hand.
Now, then you got like shit like the Brown Mountain Lights, the Bell Witch, Bigfoot, things like that. But there's one state in the Appalachian Mountain Range that, above all others, has had more strange and weird creatures and folklore pop up than any other, and that state is West Virginia. And in this state, man, we got the classics. You got everyone's favorite, the Flatwoods Monster. You got the Snallygaster, Sasquatch, Sheep Squatch, Bat Squatch. There's also the Grafton Monster, the Snarly Yow, Devil Dogs. The Jersey Devil was seen there somehow. I don't know. But there's one cryptid that trumps all of those. One whose very presence kind of gives off like an air of evil, tragedy, and pink eye to those who have seen it. One who has been called a harbinger of doom and destruction, while others are convinced it was simply a messenger trying to convey a warning. This specific cryptid even has had a Richard Gere movie made about it, and that entity is known as the Mothman.
Julia Roberts.
No, Colby, it's the Mothman. We're going to be doing the Mothman, and I'm very excited.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Not what I said.
The movie was not Pretty Woman, if that's what the movie you're thinking of.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Colby, you're familiar with the Mothman, correct?
Yeah. I've heard some samples from it.
Some sample?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got to release that song.
Yeah. Absolute banger.
For those of you who may somehow be unfamiliar, the Mothman is a 5 to 8 foot tall humanoid creature with bright red, almost hypnotic glowing eyes that will for sure give you pink eye. It has a massive wingspan of roughly 10 feet that, from what some witnesses say, they don't flap. He just kind of like unfurls them and then just lifts off the ground. Just like, whoop.
Damn.
Yeah, not ideal.
Right.
Just an all around unpleasant thing to come across when you're driving down the road at night, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah. So sightings of the Mothman.
Get out of there.
Okay. No, sightings of the Mothman started on November 15th, 1966 in the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and ended on December 15th, 1967, with the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge, which claimed the lives of 46 people, 2 of which their bodies were never found. So it's kind of rough. It's not like the happiest Christmas that year in Point Pleasant, I would assume.
Yeah.
But before we get into the nitty gritty of the Mothman sightings, the UFOs, the Men in Black, and the weirdest dude in the world known as Injured Cold, I think it's important to take a little bit and talk about Point Pleasant, its history, and for you to learn about a centuries-old curse that was put upon the region that may be the cause for all the strange occurrences and the many incidents and tragedies that have plagued Point Pleasant and the surrounding area since that curse was spoken. Are you ready for this, Colby? Are you ready?
I'm definitely ready. Yeah. Yep. Let's go.
How you feeling so far?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah?
I'm feeling like I'm retaining information. I'm a little on the edge of the seat, you know,
Okay.
and I want to know. I want to know more about Point Pleasant.
Yeah, there's gonna be this is a information heavy episode. You're gonna get a lot of info here.
That's good.
Not a lot of Mothman in this one, but I think this is, I guess I was telling you before we were recording, I think this is important to learn about this before we go into what the Mothman and the sightings and all that stuff were. All right, so
Right.
Point Pleasant is a small town in West Virginia that sits on the confluence of the Ohio and the Kanawha rivers. Confluence, I learned, means like when two or more water sources join up to make like one channel of water. So you learned something today.
Okay.
It supposedly got its name when George Washington was like surveying the area and offhandedly was just like, huh, this is a pleasant point. In, in reference to like where the Ohio River and the Kanawha River met. I don't know how real that is because according to the official Wikipedia page, it said that Colonel Lewis set up a camp there called Camp Point Pleasant, and it was named after that. So I don't know. I like to believe the George Washington story just because I'm a big fan of lazily named things.
Yeah.
Like blueberry.
Yeah.
Like, that's blue. It's a blueberry.
But the boysenberry. Oh.
What? Why you look so flustered about that?
The boysenberry. Good Lord. You guys, it rhymes with poison.
Okay.
Who's naming this shit?
It was officially established on December 19th, 1794, but was already occupied by settlers. Oh my God. Was already occupied by settlers well before then, and not just by us white folks, as I'm sure everyone listening
usually are.
will have assumed. It was originally a Shawnee village up until 1749. But this area wasn't just home to Shawnee people. Several tribes of indigenous people lived in the area, and with the whole manifest destiny thing going that we were taught in school, for some reason was like a good thing.
The gold rush.
Nope. Do you not remember manifest destiny from school?
It was all around the same time, I think.
No.
So,
I mean, maybe, but not really. No.
I mean, social studies.
Man. Well, if you don't know what manifest destiny is, go look it up. But we were taught it.
That was when we were in England. We were like, yeah, we should have land. We should have America. It's our destiny to.
Yeah, basically
conquer all.
Yeah, basically
lands.
God said that we should just keep going west.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those native. So now I feel like I got to start over. But
Sorry.
With the whole manifest destiny thing going on that we were taught in schools, some of those native tribes banded together to sort of put the kibosh on that shit, like real quick. And one of those tribes was the Shawnee. Now, from what I have learned, the Shawnee were the strongest of these tribes. Whether or not that's true, I don't really know, but I'm not going to argue with it. But what I do know is that the Shawnee Chieftain was well respected and widely feared, not just amongst like other native tribes, but the white settlers as well. His name was, and I really hope I'm pronouncing this right, Hokalesqua, which translated from the native Shawnee to English means blade of corn or cornstalk. Now, not much is known about Chief Cornstalk's early life, and he doesn't really appear in any historical records up until about 1764. We know that he may have been born in 1720 in the area of what is now modern-day Pennsylvania along the Susquehanna River, and he relocated to the area of Point Pleasant sometime around 1758 during the French and Indian War because the Shawnee were trying to like stay neutral in that conflict, so they decided to just like get the hell out of there.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Are you retaining any of this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Chief Big Corn.
Cornstalk.
Big Cornstalk.
Yeah.
was a badass dude, revered by all, even the whites. You're scaring the whites?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing a good.
Yeah.
You're
made a
killing
name
it.
for yourself. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Uh,
Classic whites.
so the Shawnee was trying to remain neutral. That is until the British Royal Proclamation of 1763 that was meant to create a border between the colonies and the native lands. This worked well as it could, I guess, for a while, but then of course us whites got greedy. Who would have guessed? And that's with the Treaty of Fort Stanwix in 1768, where Sir William Johnson negotiated a new border with the Iroquois, which gave the British a huge chunk of land south of the Ohio River, which included, you guessed it, present-day West Virginia. Now, the reason this was a problem for Cornstalk and the Shawnees was because they used that land as their hunting grounds. So they weren't, and they weren't at the negotiations for this treaty, so they were pretty pissed off about it.
They didn't even show up.
They weren't
They weren't
invited.
Their invites were lost in the mail.
Pony Express back then was literally a Pony Express.
Right. And they couldn't travel very far. They're ponies.
Now, this led to clashes between the British and Native American tribes. And this is about the time when the Shawnees started organizing other tribes to help defend their hunting grounds. All in all, 7 Native American nations formed an alliance known as, and I'm sorry for how this is worded, this is just how it is, it's the Indian Confederacy, to protect the lands and defend against any further white dudes just encroaching on their lands. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
It kind of happened anyways. Sorry.
Right.
Those nations that were part of this confederacy were the Delaware, Wyandot, Mingo, Ottawa, Illinois, Miami, and of course the Shawnee. These skirmishes weren't like a full-fledged issue until 1774, when at least 10 Mingo Indians were murdered by white settlers in what is now known as the Yellow Creek Massacre. This led to the Mingos retaliating against the settlers, and it seemed as though pretty much at this point like a straight-up war was going to come any day now. Like the fog of war hung low across the region, if you will. You look bored as fuck. I told you this is an information-heavy episode.
I am not bored whatsoever. I'm intrigued.
Now, Cornstalk and the Shawnees weren't looking for a war. They just wanted their hunting grounds to not be ravaged by white dudes, which is understandable. So far, it kind of seems like the Shawnees are super chill. Like they're like the one friend that you have that's like super chill, cool with everyone, doesn't want any problems with anyone, never starts any shit. But if they need to, they will fucking just like straight up murk you, no questions asked kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm getting from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You never met my buddy Jordan, but that's Jordan.
Jordan,
you think
doesn't
he's
exist.
Not a real human being, right?
I don't think Jordan's real. We've gone over
John Cena.
Pretty much. So Cornstalk, he did what he could to kind of just keep the peace, even going as far as sending his brother Silverheels to escort traders from Shawnee villages to the safety at Fort Pitt. Well, one day while Silverheels was escorting someone to Fort Pitt, and while he was at the fort, local militiamen shot and seriously wounded him. And this was the inciting incident that kicked off Lord Dunmore's War and brought us to the Battle of Point Pleasant. Are you ready to learn about the Battle of Point Pleasant? How are you feeling so far?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like the whites strike again, you know? I think that's where all of our problems came.
Pretty much. I think we are the cause of a lot of our own problems.
Us and us from the future.
I don't know what that means.
You will in 15 days and 34 seconds.
Now, the Battle of Point Pleasant took place on October 10th, where Cornstalk and a small army of only roughly 300 Shawnee, Delaware, Wyandot, and Mingo warriors, they stood up against Lord Dunmore's 1,300 men. The battle lasted nearly the whole day, with Cornstalk and his men actually having the upper hand until reinforcements arrived, and he was forced to retreat back across the Ohio River, and eventually he ended up signing a peace treaty called the Treaty of Camp Charlotte, which basically made it official that Cornstalk was to give up all the Shawnee land rights south of the Ohio River. Kind of a bummer, but,
right.
It seems like Cornstalk's just like, I don't want more people to die, so just it is what it is.
Stop making me sign documents.
Now we're gonna yada 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 a bit here and fast forward to 1775. At this point, the American Revolution is kicking off, and just like with all other conflicts, Cornstalk and the Shawnee wanted to remain neutral in this war. Now, this is the part in the story where things get a bit murky as to what happened next. Some sources I read in the story that I'm going to go with, because it's a way better story and adds a bunch more to the legend, is the one I'm going to go with. So please, Colby, listeners, after this point, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Could be true, could be legend, could be completely made up. The story is that in November 1777, Cornstalk went to Fort Rudolph, which is a fort that was built on the site of the Battle of Point Pleasant and is now present-day Point Pleasant. He went along with another Native American chief named Red Hawk and an unnamed Native man. There's your unnamed man. To tell the Americans that while they don't want war with the Americans or the British are bringing more and more tribes from their confederacy to the side of the British, and that if Cornstalk's men wanted to fight with the British, he would allow it and would have no choice but to join in with them. Because if Cornstalk is anything, he's a man with principles and loyalty. If his fighters want to fight with the British, he's going to do it. You know, if you're a part of a confederacy, I feel like you have to like be with, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's for the people, you know, that's what the people want to do. We're doing it.
He's a man of the people. That's right.
I like him.
He then stated that the reason for their visit that day was to try and negotiate some sort of peace deal before things escalated, as the other tribes were already amassing along the Ohio River, just pretty much waiting to murder everyone in that fort. Now, he told all this to a man named Captain Arbuckle, who for some reason decided after hearing all of this, you know, the imminent attack, the tribes setting up camps along the Ohio, that he was just going to take all three men as hostages.
You're mine now. I claim you. Why not?
I mean, they're already taking everything else.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. It is a very interesting choice. Now, even though they were hostages, it's said that they were treated well. They had comfortable quarters, food. It was even said that Cornstalk even helped in plotting out some of the maps of the Ohio River for the Americans to help out if and when the attacks happened. Then on November 9th,
they're just kicking it, hanging out, making maps and shit.
Yeah. He's just trying to be helpful.
Sound like friends.
Yeah, he's, you know. Then on November 9th, Elipanisco, who was Cornstalk's son, visited the fort to see his father and to check on his well-being. He was also detained by the captain, so he's just making all sorts of great moves. It seems like this captain, killing it.
You're coming with me. With a name like Arbuckle, you don't play around. You know, you're a serious man from Long Arbuckle line.
Now, the next day on the 10th, they heard shots fired from just outside the fort walls. Apparently, two soldiers left the fort to go do a little deer hunting, and they were ambushed by a group of Native Americans. One of the soldiers managed to escape, but the other one wasn't so lucky. He was killed and scalped, and this really did not sit well with the soldiers in the fort, who were already on edge, just kind of waiting for the natives to attack from across the river. So with all this rage, a group of men acting against orders burst into where the four men were and decided to execute all of them as revenge for their fallen comrade. It's said that when the men burst through the door, that Cornstalk stood up and faced them with such bravery that the men momentarily paused their attack. But unfortunately, just standing up like a badass that he wasn't enough to stop what happened next. The soldiers opened fire. Red Hawk was said to have tried to climb up the chimney, but was immediately dragged out and killed. The unknown native man is said that he was strangled to death. Cornstalk's son was shot where he sat. And Cornstalk, he was shot eight times before he fell to the floor. And then there on the floor, he looked up at his murderers and said, quote, "I was the border man's friend. Many times I have saved him and his people from harm. I never warred with you, but only to protect our wigwams and lands. I came to this fort as your friend, and you murdered me. You have murdered by my side my young son. For this, may the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this land. May it be blighted by nature. May it even be blighted in its hopes. May the strength of its people be paralyzed by the stains of our blood. End quote.
Damn, he said all that. He was dying for a while. The gut shot. He got shot in the gut, right?
He got shot 8 times.
Dying for the enough time to write a book.
Let's even apparently this was the curse was longer. I truncated it down just a little bit. So he was talking for a minute. But what do you think? This is a pretty dope curse.
Damn. Yeah, absolutely. That's that's the right time to set that curse upon the white folk.
Yeah, if you're ever gonna curse anyone, it's in that moment. He played his cards well.
On your death floor.
And
I like he kept saying floor, but it's probably just ground.
It's just ground.
You think like hardwood?
It could. I mean, it might. I mean,
like a loft, downtown loft.
Well, I mean, like forts weren't just one floor; they had upper levels.
Right.
Could be stone, could be wood. Who knows? I think we're getting a little off topic here.
Maybe.
All right.
I think you're right.
Now, as soon as those words left his lips, he succumbed to his injuries and passed, or so says the legend. The bodies of Cornstalk's son, Red Hawk, and the unknown warrior were said to have been thrown in the river, while Cornstalk, being the respected chief that he was, the settlers did bury him right near the fort, and he remained there for some time. That is until 1840, when his bones were removed and placed in the grounds of the Mason County Courthouse.
Strike one.
And then again in the 1950s, they removed his remains, which at this point I think they said was just like one bone and a couple of teeth. And they just put him in like an aluminum box and then buried them in 2 Way Park. Not great.
Don't move the bones.
Yeah.
Don't move the bones.
Now, as for the curse, well, a ton of bad shit has happened over the years that people have attributed to said curse, such as, and this is a pretty long list, so a catastrophic fire that destroyed an entire city block in the 1880s. On December 6th, 1907, a coal mine disaster in Monongah, West Virginia, killed 310 miners. There were 2 floods that almost completely took out Point Pleasant in 1913 and 1937. June of 1944, a tornado ripped through the tri-state area, killing 150 people. In 1954, a barge exploded, killing 6 men just before Christmas. 1968, a plane crashed near the Kanawha Airport, killing 35. 1970, another airplane crash in Huntington, West Virginia, killed 75. March 2nd, 1976, Harriet Sisk was in the Mason County Jail in Point Pleasant for the murder of her infant daughter. So her husband came to the jail with a briefcase full of explosives and then set them off, killing him, his wife, and 3 cops.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Why did you do that, Cornstalk?
And then in 1978, a train derailed in Point Pleasant, releasing a bunch of toxic chemicals into the water, making all of the wells and the drinking water in the area pretty much unusable, so on, so forth. But one that everyone seems to remember.
Because of the curse.
That's what they're saying. It could just be all coincidence and just this area is just rife with tragedy for some reason. I don't know. But the one that everyone seems to remember, and the one that has the wildest stories surrounding it, is that of the collapse of the Silver Bridge on December 15th, 1967, and the entire year leading up to it filled with sightings of UFOs, men in black, alien visitors, and the harbinger of doom himself, the Mothman. And that is where we will pick up next week for Mothman Part 2, the sightings.
Dang, what a cliffhanger.
How you feeling, bud? That was a lot of information.
Woo! I'm feeling full, feeling like I gotta do some file sorting, all this information.
You got a file?
That's cool though. I need the backstory, it feels like a slow burn.
It's gonna be, yeah, it is. Because there's a lot of weird shit. Like, it's not just the Mothman, like I said, like there's UFOs, the men in black showed up. There was an alien visitor named Indrid Cold who was just consistently smiling and talked through telekinesis and fucking phones and shit like that. Like,
wait. He talks through phones.
well, I mean, yeah, fair.
I gotcha.
No, it's just like everyone knows the story of the Mothman, I feel like, but not a lot of people know there was a bunch of weird shit happening surrounding the Mothman that all right, so I'm gonna try and break this up into segments. The next episode we'll do the Mothman straight up. We'll just do the sightings, and then I want to just go over the Men in Black and the UFOs and Injured Colds. All these things happening either before, during, or after. And I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm excited. It gets weird. It gets really fucking weird.
All right. Well, I'm ready. Take me to the cryptid commune.
Okay. All right. Colby, thank you so much for joining me. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say?
I mean, yeah, we just got a new drummer for my band, Lanterns. Changed our name. You'll see a new single and a demo coming out soon.
Hell yeah.
Gonna be dropping them. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Right on. And where can they find Lanterns? Is it Lanterns 207 on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. So follow
That's
them.
the one.
You know, follow them. It's good. It's a good time.
Oh yeah. That's what we sound like.
Phenomenal. If you want to follow us on Instagram at Cryptid Cocktail. Follow us on TikTok at Cryptid Cocktail Party. We do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Cryptid Cocktail Party. It's $5 a month, and you will get things when I get around to doing them. But for the most part, it's really just to support the show and what we do. Yeah, that's it. Colby, you want to say bye to everyone?
Bye, everyone.